welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. We're so super excited for you to be joining us for yet another episode with today's amazing guest, the fabulous and the wonderful Dr. Linda Duong. Hello, Linda.
Hello, everybody. So glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation, Michelle.
It's so lovely having you join us on the show today. And everybody, I'm so inspired and awed, and a little bit awed by this amazing woman. Linda is the founder of Three Hearts and Coachable, and she's also a speaker and a coach. But also, incredibly importantly, she's the award-winning author of a book called Connection, The Currency to Happiness. She has this incredible life journey as well as all of those different achievements that she's going to share with us in a moment. But Linda, rather than me go through your story, please share with everybody, what is your life story? How did you come to set up two businesses? How did you write a book? I'm sure everybody's fascinated to hear your background.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to share. I actually consider it 4 businesses. The book is a business on its own, where I sign book, I sell the book and do speaking. And Three Hearts is an extension of the book, and Coachable is the extension of Three Hearts. And Link Coaching is actually where I begin it all. Link Coaching is the business where I offer coaching business. So that's actually 4 of that. How did I come to who I am? I actually didn't know a word of English before I came to Sydney, Australia. And I didn't even know what a computer looked like. So it has been a long journey. But since then, I have been able to achieve every single dream I have so far. How did I come? Wow, that's a long story. Basically, lots of hard work, and keep following my heart and keep following my dreams. And stay very focused, very super focused.
Yeah, so I think people may be a little bit interested in your actual journey because, coming from Vietnam at the end of the war, not knowing any English, what do you think it was that inspired you or kind of motivated you to leave Vietnam and pick Australia? And what is it about your journey, especially in the early years, that you think is important to share with people?
So why Australia? It's by chance, by luck, by fate. So because you're in Australia, so a lot of people will know the refugee story. So my sister was one of the refugees, the boat people, so-called. Even friends in America and Canada can relate to that. So she escaped Vietnam, so-called, and on the boat, overcome this enormous journey at sea and arrive in Sydney, Australia, and settle in and sponsor us. Us meaning me, my other siblings, and my parents. So I'm the lucky one, she said. You guys are lucky duck. I have to go through all the, horrendous challenges, and we came by plane. So I came as an immigrant. So that's how Sydney, Australia. But why? What inspired me is my incredible parents, but mostly my mom. My mom, because she actually has lost her own mother at the age of 8. And I still don't know how she does. And I wish she's here for me to ask this question because I did not ask before. How is it that you didn't have your own mother at the age of 8 and yet become this incredible woman to 10 kids? And she was always giving, always helping people. Imagine you go through a war zone of 30 years. We're talking about, when we hear wars, we're like, oh, shaking our head, can't believe it. But imagine how you survived 30 years of war. And yet, in that environment, when we didn't have anything. But her and my incredible dad were always helping people. Growing up, that's all I remember. And that kind of planted the seed in me that anything is possible. And she would always say, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It's her most casual way of reassuring us. And yet it had planted in my DNA this amount of steadiness, assurance that life's going to be okay. The world is okay. And no matter what happened, this quietness, this quiet reassurance have kind of guarded me my whole life, that turned me into this positive thinking mindset that I did not know where it came from until people keep asking me, and I had to keep digging. I had to keep digging because I did not have like high education. We were rich. It's not like they did everything for me. They actually did not do anything out of their way, but just little voice of, it's gonna be okay. It's all right. And it's like each step of the way, whatever I do, whenever I face challenges, mom's voice is like, it's gonna be okay. It's all right. Like I would have times where I like get so frustrated, I'll be in tears, right? And then after all of those headache, this quiet voice from mom, it's gonna be okay. It's just so comforting. I cannot tell you how comfortable it is. And so that's what
Wow,
I was.
I can really hear your mum's voice and how through what would have been quite difficult circumstances, and I can't even begin to imagine in your sister's journey on the boat, and what must have been quite difficult for everybody in the family. I mean, leaving Vietnam without any English and getting on that plane to come to Australia. Again, fate, all of those different elements. But I love how you're saying that out of that experience, what you took away from it, from your family that you grew up with, was this sense of it will be okay.
It will be okay. It will always be okay. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated then with that contrast from your early years where you would have very little and war and everything else, right the way through to growing up here in Australia and having the different advantages here in Australia. What does success now mean to you? What would you say or pin success on for you?
So as you could hear, my journey, my upbringing, the seed to plant my foundation, it's all about inward, right? It's all about inside out. It is not like the name, the fame, the status, the money, right? So everything is inward, everything is from inside out. So then therefore success to me is when you are able to feel your true inner joy, and when you can be at peace doing whatever you're doing.
I love that definition for you of when you're able to feel your own inner joy. I think that that's really, really a lovely way of understanding how success is an inner experience and to focus on finding that inner joy. With such a incredible and complex background. I mean, you're an honorary doctor of education. You have an award-winning book that has inspired people all over the world, and you have, sorry, four businesses. The four businesses you have. What sorts of tips or suggestions do you have? You've already shared the wonderful suggestion about it will be okay that you got from your mother. But what other suggestions or tips do you have for people about how they can create that mindset for success as well?
Yeah, so one of the strategy that I use is the 3 steps to interrupt your negative thinking pattern. Would you like me to show you how to do it? And we can do it together.
That sounds great. Well, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so step 1 is you catch the thought. Whenever you have a negative thought that you're aware that you're happening, like, oh, I don't like this or something is not going well, you catch it. So this is what I do. I literally do my hand gesture because it anchors the thought. So that's step 1.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is that step one is that I have a negative thought maybe come up. And when I have that thought come up, I capture it. I hold it in my hand. So you were holding your hand, yeah?
Yeah. And then step number 2 is you park that thought. You park it so that you don't keep continuing with that pattern.
So I've got the thought here in my hand and then I park it. What do you mean by park it?
When I say park it, it means that you temporarily not think about it. Because when I say don't think about it, as human beings, we attach and we naturally tend to think. So when I say park it, it's like you temporarily leave it at that moment in time.
Oh, okay, so I temporarily leave that thought. Okay, yeah.
Right, yes. And step number three is you flip it. You flip it from negative thinking to a positive thinking.
Oh, okay. How do I flip the thought that I've parked in my hand here? How do I flip it from a negative thought to a positive thought?
So it's just, I use a light switch analogy, right? It just flip it kind of, right? Makes it easier to think. But what it really is that you challenge yourself. If you think that, oh, I'm not good at this, right? You flip it by challenging yourself. Really? Are you really not good at this? Or is it something new that you haven't learned?
So what you're suggesting is that to flip this negative thought that I've parked, to flip it, I need to ask myself questions like challenging myself.
That's right. That's right. So by challenging yourself, you bring yourself back to reality. Is it true that I'm not good? Or have I not give myself the chance to learn something new? Or if you say, oh, happen again. Oh, really? Is it really happening again? How many times has it happened? So it's pretty much bringing yourself back to the basics and to examine that thought so that you don't continue the negative pattern.
And how did you find when you were catching the thought, parking it, and then flipping it? How did you find um, didn't when you were challenging yourself, you perhaps just went, oh, well, I'm so stupid. Of course, I'm going to do this. Didn't you just have more negative thoughts? How did you find changing it or flipping it, like with the light bulb you were saying? How did you find that experience?
Yeah, so the whole idea is that if I tell myself not to think about it, it's just natural that I can't do it. The more I tell myself or I tell you don't think about it, as human being, we're attached that emotions will think. But when I say park, I literally tell myself to just leave it, right? So I bring myself back to the present moment, to the present task, so that I can go back to that thought later.
Okay, so by parking it, you're able to detach, is what you're saying. So
That's right. And
you're
interrupt
and interrupt. What are you interrupting?
interrupt that pattern of the downward spiral. You know how once you have one thought and it's like, oh, I'm not good at this and I'm not good at that, it will just keep continuing. By parking it, you're literally interrupting that pattern so that you can't continue this downward spiral.
Oh, so what a fascinating process. So, noticing that you've had the thought and then going, well, okay, I'm going to put this thought into my hand and parking it so that you can bring yourself back into this moment and not the moment when you were having the thought, because you could be stuck in that moment still, but parking it helps you to go, well, I haven't ignored it. It's still here, but I'm not as engaged or caught up in it. I'm detaching from it, and then using the light bulb to challenge. Well, is it true? Is this real? How much of it have I made up in the story? So
Absolutely.
how have you used this for yourself when you've been in everyday life? There must be challenging things that come up. So how do you use this 3 steps with your life?
So I use it all the time. It becomes so natural. It's just like a thought process. It's like, every day you wake up, you brush your teeth, right? And so anytime I have a negative thought, that's just the natural process that I go through in my mind.
What other wonderful things have you developed or used yourself to create that positive focus?
The most basic fundamental thing is just get out to nature. If you just get out to nature, it does a whole lot of good for your mental health well-being. It helps you go from negative to positive. Yeah, it's very simple. That's what I advise people to do all the time. And that's what I do all the time.
So what's your favorite place in nature? Where do you like to go?
One of my favorite places in Sydney is Manly Beach. I share that in the book too. I love beaches, all the beautiful beaches like, Manly, Coogee, Maroubra. Those are my favorite places.
That's fabulous. And what is it that you think for yourself that you like about beaches, say, instead of going into the countryside, because especially here in Sydney, the beaches are pretty crowded, so there's a lot of people. There's not quite that peacefulness that you might get in a park or something. What is it that you enjoy? And I'm interested just so that other people who might be looking to get to nature, but being around a lot of people at the beach isn't their idea. So, what is it that you think speaks to you about going to a beach?
Yeah. So there is always a lot of people, but depends on the time that you go, I guess. Also, when I go, I don't sit in one spot amongst the crowd. I walk, and as I walk along the shore, the water, your feet touches the water, it's calming, and I tune into the sound of the ocean, the rhythmic of the waves, the sound of the ocean is really soothing and calming, and so that's what I tune into.
Wow, and I really hear what you're saying around that whole of body experience, the sound of the waves, the feel of the water, those different senses and engaging those different senses. So whether it is in a park or at the beach or wherever. And I'm also interested, yeah, it's great that you've pointed out that you can go and connect with nature, even if there's a lot of people around, like at a beach. You just kind of go into your own space and block them out in many ways. In a sense, it's like your parking example. You park the noise and the people around you. It's still there, but you can block it out. That's a really good piece of advice, because sometimes people think that to go to nature, you actually have to go on a retreat or go a long way away, and forget that you can actually just even go and sit in, a big park somewhere and connect into nature there, even if there's other people around. What
Absolutely. Even
else?
in your local area, you can just walk to the park or around your neighborhood. It doesn't actually have to be the beach, but just get out of the house and go for a walk. It's very, very healthy.
And that brings me to one of the things you touched on, which is around movement. So many people talk about it doesn't matter what movement you do to help create a more positive mindset, but it's about the act of moving, releasing that oxytocin and shifting your body position and getting the blood pumping and the oxygen going to your brain. What's been your experience when working with people around suggestions like, going and doing some form of movement to help them create that positive mindset?
I would always just say, just get out whenever you can. And it's just a matter of building the routine. It's just a matter of building the routine and just get out whenever you can. At first it's hard, but once you get used to it, it's just like everyday thing that you do.
And given that you started at the beginning when you were talking about, you've achieved everything that you've wanted to do, and you've created a life and a world of everything that you want. What role do you think in creating a positive or successful mindset has played in that feeling, or that knowing that you have, that you've achieved everything you set out for?
Yeah, well, everything in every way, because if I didn't have that positive mindset, that attitude, there's no way I could have achieved, all of my goals and my dreams. So in every way, really, yes.
And given that you came from some fairly difficult circumstances to begin with, that you've built and built on, you didn't just build something, with for business and an award-winning book. You kept building and building and building. Do you think it's this practice of having a negative thought, or having a bad day, or having whatever it is, that practice of reframing it towards a positive thought or a positive life, that habit of doing that has been something that has created the success for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Everything, it's back to that basics. Yes.
And do you see that perhaps in many ways that those early years or the younger years where you were struggling built those patterns and those habits for you?
Absolutely. I think we are our story. our story make up who we are today, right? So all of those challenges is what forces you to reinvent yourself, to look into yourself, how you can do better each day, each time of the, each step of the way, and each time a challenge come. Absolutely, yes.
When do you think that you perhaps felt the most challenged and needed to kind of look at your own reserves? When do you think you perhaps built, your most strongest habits to, keep positively focused?
I think being a mother is always, for any female that has gone through the journey of parenthood, being a parent, whether it's male or female, whether mom or dad, I think being a parent is definitely the milestone that bring the best out of us or transform us to the next version of ourselves. That's for sure.
So was it the time that you found most challenging was learning to be a parent and adjusting to the different stresses and lifestyle of being a parent?
Yeah, absolutely. All of that. Because when I was pregnant, I was almost disabled. And so I have to pull out everything I've got in order to go through the journey and stay on top of being positive so that I won't affect the baby. So yeah, absolutely. I shared it all in the book.
Wow. So what sorts of things did you, because it sounds like you had some fairly serious health issues going on there. So what sorts of things did you do to keep positive and to keep focused, that, and obviously you were very aware that whatever you were thinking and doing and habits, again, that you were creating could affect not just you, but the baby. So what sorts of things did you do? And I'm sure people are fascinated with, how did you rewire or reframe what was going on in such a difficult situation?
Knowing your why, simply knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I was consciously creating a family. It was planned, and I wanted this baby. And so my purpose is to bring a healthy baby to this world. And I tune into that focus every single day. I just tune into that focus, and that's what gives me the strength to go through it.
So you've raised a really good point there about knowing your purpose and knowing your why. And I think one of the things with people is that we talk to on the show is that they do have that really strong sense of knowing why they're doing something or what they want to achieve out of what they're doing. And it can, bring them through or bring people through some quite difficult times in life. And I'm sure, you came through, and obviously you don't have those disabilities at the moment, and I'm sure your children are fine. And it's interesting. Do you think that, in a sense, that the struggle or challenges were part of what led you to get more clarity about your why and become stronger in your why?
Absolutely. I think it challenges you to think more deeply, even though I know my why right from the beginning. But every time you go through a challenge, it will make you think deeper. It will challenge you to think more. And so, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Ah, fabulous. And so people people when raising children as well often share about the challenges of children, how can I put it? Children being children, and not wanting to clean their room, or not wanting to this or not wanting to that. How do you kind of keep positive with that as well, or keep a positive mindset if you're asking your child 5 times to clean their room? How do you kind of reframe your habit into one of keeping a positive mindset when your child may be pushing those boundaries a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't have too much of those problems because remember, when you have the mindset, it's going to be okay. If you have the mindset that it's going to be okay, that means even if the room's a little bit messy, it's going to be okay. It's not too big a deal, right? If your child is chucking a tantrum, it's okay. He's just having a moment. I think, those "it's okay" three little words that my mom has instilled in me is so powerful. It's really so powerful. It really reduces your anxiety and reduces your stress immediately if you embrace that.
I love that. And do you think, if in 20 years' time, if I was interviewing Linda's children on the show, do you think that they might be talking about you in the same way and saying, that their mum, you instilled in them this knowing and this sense that it's okay. And so they kind of carry it on like you carried it from your mum. Do you feel like your children will be carrying it from you?
I think so. They have already displayed it and they actually said that. And in fact, my daughter has been interviewed on global shows in America because of her charity work. So parenting is generational. And that's why I was passionate about it. I begin as a parenting coach. And that's why I'm passionate about future generations, because I know that whatever we share with them as adults, not just parents, right, as teachers, as any citizens in the world, whatever you do, a youngster look at you and will be either inspired or mimic. It goes generations to come. It passes on to their kids, and their kids pass on to their kids. So yeah, I'm really, really passionate about how we model so that we can help the future generations.
And yes, I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful sentiment. There's never been as much mental health issues as there are now in society in general. And I can really hear that, if everybody had a parent who modeled and said, clean up your bedroom, and then when you didn't jump and clean up the bedroom or whatever, it's okay, and I still love you, but I still want you to clean up your room, kind of thing. So it wasn't like they didn't see their parent getting to that state of frustration and anger over and over in whatever, when using the bedroom as an example, but they saw their parents stay in that state of it's okay, everything's going to be okay. And obviously for more serious challenges within the family, the parents still going, it's okay, it's going to be okay. I can really see what a different world and a different society we would be living in if we all had role models like your mother and yourself now in society, showing that's such a gift that you bring to everybody. Thank you, Linda.
Because we all are going through a journey of time. Even though little children might not think that they're really busy, their brain is busy in their own world. They might be busy playing, they might be busy imagining, they might not be in the moment of time where you want them to do what they want them to do. It is what you want, but it's not what they want. And so that is the crucial understanding that all parents, guardian, teacher, that if we all understand that, we will have a lot more allowances. And that's where compassion comes in.
I love that, because out of that knowing it's okay, when people are in that state and are in that space, they can then be going, oh, okay, I can be compassionate, I can be loving, because they're not in that survival kind of space. There are so many different things and questions that I could ask you, Linda, but for now, what's the best way that people can get hold of you and connect if they want to know more?
Sure, you can simply email me. You can email Linda, Linda, Linda at lindaduong.com.au.
Wonderful. And if you were to give some, I mean, I don't know what advice you might give because your mum sounds amazing, but if you were to give some advice to your younger self, what might that advice be?
Oh, worry less. I was a very worrisome child, meaning like I was very intense in thinking. And so because I have this surplus compassion for other people, I tend to worry. When I say, for example, if I saw once someone with a wheelchair and needed to get up the stairs at the station, and I just get so worried that I feel like I want to go and help them. And so now I can say that it's okay. you can relax and give people a chance to manage first. So yes, to my younger self, worry less. Even though I go out to nature a lot, I still need to worry less.
Well, Linda, it's been such an absolute pleasure having you on the show today and sharing your incredible, inspiring journey from, coming to Australia with no English and learning and growing and keeping those words of wisdom from your mum that it's okay. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for all of the amazing viewers, thank you for all of the continuing wonderful, fabulous messages and emails and notes that you send through. We really do appreciate how much you value the incredible experts like Linda coming on and sharing their knowledge as to how you too can create a positive mindset. But for now, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.